Bonsoir, mes amis. Bonsoir, tout le monde. Hello, my friends. You know, as I look out across this room, I have just one question. How's the Liberal Party doing tonight?
Liberals, please welcome Grace Trudeau. Amis libéraux, veuillez accueillir Grace Trudeau.
Hi, everyone. I've come here to talk to you about your Prime Minister, your leader, but to me, it's just Dad. Je crois qu'on sait tous que...
I think we all know that being a Prime Minister is not the easiest job in the world. Long days of work, stress, media attention.
Not that easy to be the kid of a Prime Minister either. I've been trying hard to live the life of a normal teenager, but I think you can imagine it's not that simple of a task. La sécurité, les règles.
Security, rules, drama have all stopped me feeling free over the past few years. The number of times who spoke to me about him as if he wasn't my father. So that led me to doubt the integrity of some people.
Conversations with my dad about the difficult situations I've lived through, and he never failed to make me feel better. He listened, and more than that, I knew he heard me, he understood me, because he lived through all that. The only difference is that back then there was no social media. Imagine constantly seeing your dad or even news about him as you scroll through your feed. I gotta say, I'm looking forward to seeing more of him at home and less of him online. But I would never trade the last few years for anything. Dad, I'm so proud of you. I'm so proud to have seen you fight for our country, for what you believe in, for what we in this room believe in. Fier de t'avoir vu.
Proud to have seen you fight for those in need.
I'm extremely grateful to have lived these experiences and grateful to those around me who have made it even just a little bit easier. Je suis tellement chanceuse d'avoir pu vivre.
I'm so lucky to have been able to experience so much, to meet so many extraordinary people, to see so many beautiful things and places.
Memories I've made, it be at Harrington Lake, on official trips, or even just at home. And I'm really looking forward to making some new memories of a different kind. My brothers and I have shared our dad with you for the past 12 years. Now we're taking him back. But before we do, I guess you can have him one last time. Please welcome your Prime Minister, my dad, Justine Tredeau.
Bonsoir, mes amis. Bonsoir, tout le monde. Hello, my friends. You know, as I look out across this room, I have just one question. How's the Liberal Party doing tonight?
Ella Grace, I know that these last few years haven't been easy for Sav. Hey, Adrienne, yourself. Thank you for having been so patient with me, even when I was stressed, when I was traveling too much, when I couldn't think about anything other than work. But please know that in the most difficult times, you inspired me. You gave me courage. You reminded me that I should focus on what was really important and not what was just urgent. Being Prime Minister of this country has been the honor of my life, but I'm so looking forward to redevoting myself to my most important role, that of father. I'm proud of the three of you, and I love you above all.
Now, sit down. Now, I can imagine that you're all expecting me to stand up and talk about all that we've accomplished together. And don't get me wrong, I am damn proud of what we've done over these past 10 years for the middle class and people working hard to join it. But tonight is about our future as a party, as a country. Now, I know that we as Liberals, as a government, often get criticized by our friends for not taking a victory lap after we get something big done. We do something really big, and then we move on right away to the next challenge. Because as progressives, as Liberals, we know there is always more to do. So it is important to take the time to reflect on and share the big successes. But not tonight. Not tonight, because when Liberals gather, we're always focused on just one thing: the work that still needs to be done to build a country that stays worthy of all Canadians. And simply put, that's the work of a lifetime for each and every one of us. It's very simple. Liberals are dedicated to making this country even better, not because we think it's broken, but because we have an opportunity and therefore a responsibility to ensure that Canada stays the best country on earth. Now, these past 10 years have been challenging. Crisis after crisis has been thrown at Canadians. But through every crisis, Canadians have shown who they are. We've pulled together. We've stood up for each other, and every single time, we've emerged even stronger. And now, as Canadians face from our neighbor an existential challenge, an economic crisis, Canadians are showing exactly what we are made of. Canadians are showing what it is that makes us Canadians. Not by defining ourselves by who we're not, but by proudly embracing who we are. We're a country that knows that standing up for everyone's fundamental rights is the only way to protect our freedom. We're a country that believes no one should be left behind and that everyone should have a real and fair shot at success. We're a country that refuses to accept the false choice between a strong economy and a healthy environment. We're a country that embraces reconciliation and Indigenous peoples as true partners because it is the only path to a shared, prosperous future. On est un...
We are a country that promotes its culture and protects its heritage. We're a country that breathes life into the French language and is heard across the world.
On est un pays...
We're a country that celebrates its diversity and draws strength from its differences.
We're a country that celebrates the right of each and every person to be who they want to be, to pray as they pray, and love whom they love. We're a country that will always defend a woman's right to choose. And we're a country that will be diplomatic when we can, but fight when we must, elbows up. But you here in this room, and our fellow liberals watching across the country, you know all about fighting with grit, with determination, when the going gets tough. You remember where we were 15 years ago with just 35 seats in the House. You remember our ups and downs and all those times that people counted us out, all the times they said our party was on its last breath. Like all Canadians, it's when you try to count us out that we Liberals show our true mettle.
You showed this in 2015, 2019, and again in 2021. You mobilized. You knocked on doors. You did it in the rain, in a heat wave, in the freezing cold. You did it in the middle of a pandemic, wearing a mask. You fought for your country, and you've changed it for the better. You know, a party is more than just a name, a logo, a leader. It's all about you. You who carry the hopes of Canadians day in, day out. A country is more than a flag and a territory. It's a vision which is built gradually, day after day, between friends and neighbours. And I'd like to thank all those who have been there to build this vision together. I'm thinking here about my first volunteers 18 years ago, those who have been there since the start. Rennes, Louis-Alexandre, Stavroula, and others, so many others. I'm thinking about the grocery store parking lot in Papineau, when we talk to people to rally them to our cause, to our movement.
Also thinking of two friends in particular who've been there with me and for me every step of the way for close to 20 years. The extraordinary Adam Scotty and the unstoppable Katie Telford. Now, as I look at all of you in this room, no speech could be enough to thank you all as much as I'd like to, as much as you should be. I can't even offer you a well-deserved break because, once again, we need you. Your country needs you maybe more than ever. And I have no doubt that you will answer the call because you've done it before. Liberals will meet this moment. And make no mistake, this is a nation-defining moment. Democracy is not a given. Freedom is not a given. Even Canada is not a given. None of those happen by accident. None of them will continue without effort. It takes courage. It takes sacrifice. It takes hope and hard work. "60 years ago, standing atop Parliament Hill, Prime Minister Lester B. Pearson first raised our beautiful maple leaf into the Canadian sky. It was much debated at the time, but Pearson knew well what we all know now, that our flag would serve as a unifying symbol that would define the next chapters in our national story. 60 years later, there are still so many more chapters to write. And I can tell you, the world is looking to see what Canadians will do. So let us not dwell on all the great things we've achieved over the past 10 years. Let us aspire instead to achieve even more over the next 10 years and the decades to come. Let us remain steadfast, defiant, and united. And let us not just think about our party, let us prove our love of country. As your leader, as your Prime Minister, I have done my level best each and every single day to help build a country that stays worthy of all Canadians. I've done it for Xavier, for Ella Grace and Hadrian. And I've done it for your kids too. And I've done it with you. And although you'll always find me alongside you, cheering along, their future and your future is now in your hands. Merci, mes amis. Merci pour tout.
Veuillez accueillir le 20e Premier ministre du Canada, Jean Chrétien. Liberals, please welcome the 20th Prime Minister of Canada, Jean Chrétien.
Monsieur le Premier ministre Trudeau.
Prime Minister Trudeau, candidates, the President of the party, ministers and MPs, Good evening. This is an exceptional opportunity for me to be here this evening. This is my ninth Liberal convention that I participated in. And it's the 7th time that I've spoken at the podium. I would have never thought that I could do it at 91. I'm still ready to fight. I have fight in me yet.
So many young people in the room today. It reminds me of my first Liberal convention when I was the president of the Young Liberals at Laval University. In 1958, when Lester Pearson was elected Liberal leader. In 1958, not many of you were born. And he then became a very good prime minister. I have kept coming to Liberal Convention for 68 years. I have kept coming back to Liberal Convention because of what the Liberal Party stands for. I have kept coming back because of what the Liberal Party has delivered to make the lives of Canadians better. And I am here today because it is the Liberal Party that can best deliver the better lives for Canadians in the days, weeks, months, and years ahead. It is the Liberal Party that has given Canadians the Canadian Pension Plan and Medicare, the Charter of Rights and Freedom, the 2 official languages that put the Indigenous rights into the Canadian Constitution, brought in tough gun control laws, affirmative action. We have always supported women's right to choose. We are the party who led the way to permit, the second party in the country in the world to permit same-sex marriage. The party is the party of diversity, equality, tolerance, openness, and inclusiveness. We Liberals call it the very essence of Canada. And it is the Liberal Party that gave us the red maple leaf flag 60 years ago, which flew so proudly in homes across the country on the 14th of February to demonstrate our patriotism and love for Canada. I want to say a special thank you to former Prime Ministers Joe Clark, Harper, Martin, Campbell for coming together with me to rally Canadians across the land to show the Canadian flag with pride, with a lot of pride. But tonight, I want to pay tribute to Justine Tredeau. I want to pay tribute to him for taking the Liberal Party from 3rd place to government, and three successful successive election victories. I want to pay tribute to what he and his team have accomplished. Canadian Child Benefit, to reduce the poverty for the children in Canada. The $10 child care that opened the labor market to so many women. For the dental plan for low-income Canadians. For all the work they've done on the environment. Ladies and gentlemen, these are liberal policies. And let's talk about the economic reality of the moment now. Because Canada has done well. This, I'm telling you, as I've said so many times, Canada is not broken. Despite the attacks by the critics, Canada has the lowest deficit per capita in the G7. More than 5 times lower than in the United States. For the lowest debt per capita in the G7. And in fact, the payment on the interest of the debt today is only 11% for each dollar of tax we pay, and compared to what we got when we formed the government in 1993, we were obliged to pay 35 cents in every tax dollar. That was a little problem the Tories left to me. And we balanced the books. We took that mess from the Tories and we balanced the books. And we had 10 years of surplus. And the Tories came back to power and we went back in debt. Now inflation is 1.9% in Canada. It's 3.2% and increasing south of the border. You know, I spend my life talking about job creation. Now the problem, we're looking for manpower. It's a difficult problem, but it's better than the reverse. You know, I want to pay tribute to the government, to Mr. Trudeau, and to all the provincial governments for the fact that they have been with the municipalities put together the best program on the pandemic that we face, better than any other country in the world. Our debt rate was less than half of the United States. Today, as a party, we're choosing a new leader. A leader who will assume the mantle of Laurier and King, Saint Laurent and Pearson, Trudeau's father, Trudeau the son, who has with him a very beautiful daughter. You know, I'm old enough to say that. and myself. And that is very important. I want to take this moment to say how impressed I am by the quality of the candidates whose names are on the ballot tonight. It makes me very, very proud to be a Liberal. Et maintenant, parlons.
And now, Let's talk about the elephant in the room. The long and fruitful friendship with the Americans, built over decades, which is falling apart before our eyes, and is becoming something which is difficult to name. Mutual respect, trust, reciprocal cooperation, friendship, which have long characterized our relationship, are now giving way to wariness and more open hostility from the Trump administration towards our country. This is something we've never seen, but this is something that Canadians don't understand, and I think the majority of Americans don't understand it either, without mentioning the rest of the planet. Why? Well, why? Historians, journalists, and university researchers and experts in international politics are trying to make sense of something that doesn't make sense. Well, in Canada, our elbows are up. We're working together to unite, to deal with this threat, the threat to our economy and our sovereignty. In other words, our very existence as a country. At the beginning of the week, tariffs became a reality, and there will only be losers if you measure it in financial terms alone. But for Canadians, it's more than that. It's more than money that's at stake here. We love our country and our independence. We love who we are because we're unique in the world.
To the Trudeau government and all the Premier for the way they have led Canada in the last few weeks in confronting the menace imposed on us. With tariffs completely unjustified. Governments have absolutely right in retaliating as they have, and I congratulate all of them. If it is necessary, the governments altogether can consider going further, anything the Americans where it really hurts, by imposing an export tax on oil, gas, potash, steel, aluminum, and electricity. And we'll use that money to build infrastructure that are needed in Canada. For example, to build a pipeline for natural gas from Alberta to Quebec. Alberta, the family of my mother, and Quebec, of my father. So, you know, I think that if we do that, that will keep the steel workers working in Canada for a long time. And I could go on, but I'm limited in time. So, the world has lived for 80 years with a rule-based order that has brought us peace and prosperity. It has enabled the United States to be the strongest, the most powerful country in the world. It has allowed all of us to sleep well every night. And now, Donald Trump has decided to throw it all out the window. We are going to be living very difficult time. But I'm very confident that the next Prime Minister will work with the premiers, the leaders of all the political parties in the House of Commons, and allies around the world to stand together to meet the challenges that Mr. Trump is creating for the whole world. And perhaps, speaking of the President, it is time for a little history lesson for him. Probably does not realize that in 1776, Benjamin Franklin spent a year in Montreal trying to convince the people to join the American Revolution. And he was told by the Francophone, "Non, merci." And they were right. Look what happened to the French language in Louisiana. The Loyalists left the USA to come back to Upper Canada and the Atlantic. And the Francophone and Lower Canada, together they built our independent country. During the War of 1812, Americans came to what is known Canada on a mission of conquest. They were defeated by Colonel de Salaberry in what is now Quebec, and by leaders like the great indigenous chief Tecumseh in what is now Ontario. And I don't know, apparently some burned the White House at that time. But I'm too old to do it. No, it's a joke. But, ladies and gentlemen, we have been friend and good neighbor with our southern neighbors. But we must stand up for ourselves. Historically, despite our friendship, we have had problems, but we always found a way to solve them. We have worked with and collaborated with the United States in the past, and I'm telling you, we will do so in the future. We are good neighbors and friends. We are good neighbors and friends, but we are proud and independent country. But sometimes one must stand up for Canada. We must always be vigilant. And I did so as minister and as prime minister. Way back in 1968, when the Americans sent a ship, the Manhattan, with no Canadian flag through our Northern Passage, they wanted to prove that the passage was international water. As Minister of Northern Affairs, I flew to Pond Inlet at the northern extremity of Baffinland to confront them. I was on the Louis Saint-Laurent icebreaker. I called the captain. I said I will be there in an hour. And it's better to have the Canadian flag at the mast. I took... When I arrived, there was the Canadian flag at the mast. And I had a big smile. You know, we had other problems of the same nature. You remember Newfoundland, the so-called fish war, when we arrested Este, when my friend Tobin made a great show at the UN with the illegal nets. And we were successful. They changed the international laws after that because there was a problem that needed to be fixed. And I'm quite proud of it, and it was quite a time. Yeah. I was traveling in the West. I came back. It was Holy Week. So it was a Thursday, Holy Week. So my wife said, we'll have a good rest for the weekend. And I said, perhaps not, because I'm declaring war to Spain. She did not sleep. But, you know, we had another problem on the West Coast. You know, we have Vancouver Island, the mainland, and Canadian waters. And the fishermen from Oregon and Washington State were going to Alaska, but they were not respecting our water. So we threatened them to block the passage on Canadian water and force them to go in the high seas. It was a very difficult problem. The senator of Alaska said it was almost a question of war. So I discussed that, and I talked with my friend Bill Clinton, and he said, it's south of Canada, there's not much I can do. I said, if you cannot do something, I will do something. And they were forced to respect our laws. Some were taken to courts, and after that, the problem was solved because we stood for us strongly. But for 8 years, I was a colleague of Bill Clinton, and he would always say that Canada was his best ally, and that I was a very good friend, and we still are very good friends. But we worked together, and we found solutions together. And it's what happened in the future, too. We always been good neighbors with anybody. So I was proud, too, when I was Prime Minister, and I had to say no to the participation in the American invasion of Iraq. That decision told the United States and the world that Canada is a proud, independent country. Of course, the business community was very nervous. They were afraid of retaliation. So I told them, okay, give me the list of all the goods and all the services that the Americans are buying from us because they like us. I've not received the list yet. So, you know, we will work in collaboration with them. But, you know, they have to understand, and everybody understand, that we are a very proud country. And for me, I can tell you that sometimes I can say this, from one old guy to another old guy. Stop this nonsense. Canada will never join the United States. I can tell you that my parents were not millionaires from New York. They were workers from Shawinigan. But my mother taught us good manners. She would have been ashamed of me if I had treated anyone the way that the president treated my prime minister and the president in Ukraine in the last few weeks. The reason we don't want to become American is because our values as Canadians. We are proud Canadians, and yes, we owe a debt of recognition to Mr. Trump. He has united us as never before. So I want to say thank you to him. And I think I will propose him for the Order of Canada. I'm just kidding. Mesdames et messieurs.
Ladies and gentlemen, when I was Prime Minister, I would travel across the world. I went to the UN, to the G7, to NATO, to the Commonwealth, to the Francophonie, and to all sorts of international meetings on the 5 continents. When I came back to Canada, each time I would say that the job of being Prime Minister is perhaps the easiest of any country in the world. Canada is the country that works the best, I think, much better than any other country in the world.
There are millions and millions of human beings from all over the world who would like to come and become Canadian citizens. There was a survey not long ago. They were asking the people, where will you want to go if you had to start again your life? And Canada was number 1. Why? Is because Canada is the land of freedom. Canada is the land of opportunity, the land of generosity, the land of tolerance, the land of stability, the land of rule of law. It is our land that is the envy of the world. Canada will continue to rise through north strong and free. Nobody will starve us into submission because Canada is and will remain the best country in the world. Vive le Québec!